Welcome back. So in this lesson we're going to install the Pi server components. First off, we're going to install Pi Data Archive on Pi SIV01, and we're going to install Pi Asset Framework Server on Pi SIV02. And during the installation of Pi AF Server, it's going to ask us what SQL server we'd like to connect to, and we're going to set up this link. So these two server components, we could theoretically install them on the same machine. There's nothing to stop us doing that. In fact, we're going to run the same install kit on both machines, just select different components to install. So for a very small system, there's nothing really wrong with installing them both on the same machine, but they're always going to be fighting for resources. Something else that's going to be installed here when we install AF Server is the analytics engine. So the analysis service is in charge of performing calculations. Now, we usually install this on the Pi AF server, but there's nothing stopping us from installing it on a completely different server as well. So theoretically, we could have an additional server just for analysis. So this, once we set it up, it's not really going to ask us for much, but in normal operation, generally, it'll be connecting to Asset Framework Server, seeing what calculations it needs to run, and then performing those calculations, writing the result back into Pi Data Archive tags. So during the Pi Data Archive installation, we're going to have to find a license file. Now the license file is already there in our training environment. We've already gone through the process of obtaining it and downloading it. In real life, you'll need to do that yourself. So check out the prerequisites for installation for that. Additionally, we're going to rely on a bunch of service accounts being created for us. These were also covered in the prerequisites chapters, but we're going to just go through and select them one by one. So here we're on Pi SIV01. We're going to install the Pi Data Archive on here. So first up, let's check out what drives we have available to us. So open up Windows File Explorer here. So we have a C drive where our operating system's installed, and we have a D drive where our installation kits currently are. If we open that up, we've just got our installation kits in there. And we also have E drive, which is going to contain our archives, and we've named it Pi Archives. This is about the minimum that I'd recommend. It's nice to have different partitions for different jobs. And when we assign them during the installation, we'll go over what those jobs are going to be. So I'd like you to open up this folder, Pi Install Kits. And inside here, we have a Pi Server install kit. So let's right click and run this as administrator. All right, here we are. So first off, we're going to click next, do this flash page up here. And then we're going to choose the components we're going to install on this machine. So if you remember from previously, we're going to install the Pi Data Archive role on this machine, and we're going to install AF Server on the other one. So this one, make sure you're on Pi SIV01 down the bottom right-hand corner. We're installing Pi Data Archive. And down here, fairly important part, we've got our different directories. Now the easiest way to change these is just change the text in here. We could click on the ellipsis here and navigate down, but we already know that we're going to install the Pi system directories on D drive and the archives on E drive. So let's just change those. I'm just going to change this C to D. So this not only installs the Pi Data Archive server, but also the management tools. They're going to be installed in Program Files PyPC and Program Files x86 PyPC, and our actual data archive, the real meat of it, is going to be installed in Program Files Pi. Okay, next up, it's asking us where our license is. We need to choose it here. We have a little link to license information and generation. Now, if you are generating a license, and you will be if you're installing on a production system, you'll need to click this link and follow the steps that it goes through. You'll need to generate a machine signature. upload that to us, and we'll give you a special license just for this machine. So we're going to select the license we've already generated. We're going to pretend that we've done this before. Click on the ellipsis, and then click on the license inside training license. Over here, we're being asked where our archives are. So all of these are on E drive. So lastly, the event queues. We're going to put the event queues on D drive. Now down below is our archive settings. Now the installer looks at how well sized this machine is. It looks at how much RAM it has, how much disk space it has, and makes an assumption. So here it says it's decided that 2 gigabyte archives is pretty good for us, and that'll support a maximum point count to 1 million points, which is far more than we're going to create in this training class. But for more information here and on archive size recommendations, we've got some links here, and we'll also link some documentation. So let's click Next. So here we see a summary of what will be installed, and looks good to me. We're going to install it. Now I'll speed the video up here. Feel free to pause the video and then resume when your installation is finished. All right, looks like we're done. So our install completed successfully. Let's close that down and let's see what's installed. So we go into this PC and we're going to go into Pi System. So it's got the folders that we defined in the installation. Our actual Pi data archive files are in this program files and Pi. So we're going to navigate to this folder a few times over this course when we're doing administration tasks. Now, let's move on to part 2 here, which is installing the Asset Framework server. So I'd like you to go to Pi SIV02. So note that we're at Pi SIV02 now, and we're going to install AF server. So again, we're double clicking on Install Kits, and AF server is here. So we're right clicking on it and running as administrator. So remember, on Pi SIV02, we have a Microsoft SQL Server pre-installed. It's SQL Server Express. It allows local connections, and it'll be suitable for our needs in this class. SQL Server Express is also suitable for you if you've got a very small Pi system. So here we are. We're going to click Next on this splash screen and choose the services we're going to install. Now, this is a small system. We're going to install Asset Framework Server and Analysis Service on the same machine, on this machine. So it's both going to serve up users our data in a hierarchical format, and it's also going to run all of the calculations in our Pi system and write back to the data archive. So another service here is Pi Notification Service. We're not covering this service in this class, but setup is fairly straightforward, and if you'd like to install it in production, then the documentation is there for you. So again, we're going to change these directories. We have the same drive letters available to us in this server as well. Everything's going to go on D drive. We'd like to keep everything separate from the operating system. Looks pretty good to me. Let's go next. So it's asking us what SQL Server we'd like to use as the backend for this service, and we'd like to use Pi SIV02 SQL Express. If you're not sure what to do in production, this is where you would work with your IT department or your database administrators for a SQL Server for you to use. Usually you'd have a dedicated instance for Asset Framework if you've got a large system, or you could be on a corporate server of some kind. So there's some options here with the setup. Here we're going to both install scripts and run them. So these scripts will set up our SQL Server to be a backend to AF. If your database administrators are concerned with running these kinds of scripts on their system, then you can just install them and then they can review the scripts before they run. Let's click Next here. Next up, we need to select a certificate. So we covered certificates in the text-based lessons in the previous chapter, and we already have a certificate that's created for us here. We're going to click on Select, and we're going to select the only certificate that's there. There are any more choices. This is really the only suitable one here. Now, this has been pre-installed. You will need to obtain a certificate from your IT department or whoever manages them at your organization. Okay, there we go. So this certificate is for the real-time query processing engine. This is a service that runs and serves up the asset framework as if it were a SQL server. So applications can connect and get data in a tabular format. So these are applications like Microsoft Power BI, Tableau, etc. All right, let's click Next. And here's where we need to select the service accounts we're going to use for Asset Framework. So the account names here, it's got some default ones. We're going to change these to be domain accounts. And I really recommend you do this in a production system. It makes security much, much easier to manage. So here we've got accounts that have already been created for us. For each of these, we're going to click Browse. And we're going to search for accounts. In our training system, some service accounts have already been created for us. These are group managed service accounts. They all start with SVC-. So I'm going to type in SVC- here and then check names. This will do a search and find all of the accounts that have been created for us. So in a production system, in real life, if you're installing this, then you'll need to type in the account names that are given to you by your IT department. So here, SVC Pi AF is our account that's been created for the AF service. Okay. Note that the password is blank. It's been grayed out. Managed service accounts do not have user configurable passwords. Passwords are managed by the domain. If you're using an ordinary account here, you would need to type in the password. Analysis services here, we're going to do the same thing. SVC- and SVC-Pi Analyt is what we'd like. And our RTQP engine, SVC- and SVC-Pi RTQP. All right. Okay, that's that. We're going to click Next. So here's a summary of the features that are going to be installed. I'm happy with that. Let's click Install. And we're done. Okay. So we can close this. And let's see what was installed. So here in Pi system, note there's no, well, when we go into program files, there's no Pi folder anymore. There's just PyPC. The PyPC folder, PIPC, contains client applications for the Pi server. The Pi folder contains the server components of the Pi Data Archive. Because we haven't installed Pi Data Archive on this machine, we've got no Pi folder. Right. So that's that, really. We can actually test and see if this has succeeded. So we can click on Start down the bottom left-hand corner. And we can open the Client tool to Asset Framework, Pi System Explorer. So it says the AF server only contains system configuration database. Would I like to create a user database at this time? Sure, yeah, I would. Okay, database 1 is good for a test. And we're in. So it looks like we were successful. We can connect, we can create a database. We're fine. So we're done here with our server installs. So in the next lesson, we'll go through important post-install tasks, mostly on the Pi Data Archive side, which involve backups and security.